let's go to the female infertility now. Treatment of the female infertility. So after doing a detailed workup of the female partner, we have to see if there is any hypothyroidism. We have to correct it, or any hyperthyroidism. If hypothyroidism, in case of hypothyroidism, we can start on Thyronorm. Based on the values from 12.5, we can increase the dosage based on the levels of the thyroid hormones. In case of hyperthyroidism, it's always better to take an opinion from an endocrinologist. Uh, in case of hyperprolactinemia, we can put on cabergoline for them, 0.25 mg every week for 12 weeks. Okay, we can put on 12 weeks, and we can repeat the prolactin values again to check afterwards. So in case of FSH and LH, I mean more LH and FSH, we should again do an ultrasound scan, basic ultrasound scan, and we should rule out if any PCOS is there. In case of hirsutism, we can put them on cryptopyron acetate to reduce the facial hair. And there are many topical ointments, anti-androgen ointments, which can be used to treat the hirsutism. So in case of PCOS, if a patient comes with polycystic ovarian disease, is that we should put them on oral contraceptive pills to correct their cycles and wait for 3 months, and then should ask them for conception? No, it's not mandatory. Yes, it's better to use OC pills prior if we have time, as it's always OC pills helps to correct the hormonal imbalance, and then going for conception is always better. But still, as the couple will be anxious to conceive, and even we will lose patients if we ask them to take OC pills for 3 months and ask them to come back after 3 months. We usually lose patients, so we always have to go directly for the infertility treatment in the same cycle itself. If the patient comes on the second day itself or third day of the cycle, it's always good. We can counsel them and start the same cycle. So what is OA and SI cycle? As I explained you before, we can put them on ovulation induction drugs, and then ask them do a follicular study, a regular serial ultrasound, and give a HCG injection, and ask them to try on themselves for that 2 days. This is called as OI plus SI cycle. I also explained you previously in which patients we usually advise for OI plus SI cycles. So in those couples wherein the female is less than 30 years and male less than 35 years, we can always advise for 2 or 3 cycles of OI plus SI cycle. Or we can always give them an idea about IUI itself. If they're really anxious to conceive, they can always go directly for IUI also. But in case if there is also male factor associated, we always have to counsel them directly for IUI, that is intrauterine insemination, which is better. So let's go into details of ovulation induction drugs now. So what is ovulation induction drugs? Clomiphene citrate, letrozole, gonadotropins are few drugs we usually use in our clinical practice. Before, we used to use a lot of clomiphene citrate as letrozole was banned. That is long back. But now letrozole is a better drug than clomiphene citrate. So I'll explain you what clomiphene citrate does. Clomiphene citrate have an anti-estrogenic effect on the hypothalamus. So it increases GnRH, which in turn increases FSH and LH production, which FSH and LH go and work in the follicles and increase the estrogen secretion and gametogenesis. So the better ovulation happens. So this is how the clomiphene citrate works. But there is a disadvantage that the anti-estrogenic effect also takes part in the endometrium. So there is a thinning of the endometrium happening. So even though there is fertilization happening, even though there is an embryo produced, the implantation in the endometrium doesn't happen properly. So this is the disadvantage of the clomiphene citrate. So see, clomiphene citrate can be used from 50, 25, 50 or 100 mg based on the female and based on the hormones. We usually start from day 2 onwards or day 3 onwards. We use for 8 days. We can also combine with the gonadotropins, that is HMG, recombinant FSH or recombinant LH from day 8 onwards. And we can give HCG and ask them to try on themselves, or we can conduct an IUI. So let's go to letrozole. This is the commonest drug which we use usually for OI plus SI cycles or OI plus IUI cycles. This is an aromatase inhibitor which inhibits the aromatase, which in turn works on the hypothalamus, increases the GnRH, FSH, and LH, and increases the ovulation. So it doesn't have any anti-estrogenic effect on the endometrium. So even the endometrium grows in a good size, that is about 6 mm or 8 mm of size, so that the implantation is also better. Usually letrozole is a monofollicular growth, that is we doesn't get number of follicles even though we give letrozole. So usually we get in one good mature dominant follicle. So happening multiple pregnancies with letrozole is also less. So how much we usually give? 2.5 to 5. I always prefer to give 5 mg for all the couples. We give 2.5 mg BD or 5 mg stat per a day, starting from day 3 onwards till day 7. That is for 5 days we give letrozole. We can put letrozole itself alone for 2 to 3 cycles, and we can ask them for SI cycles or IUI cycles. If they does, we have, as we are monitoring with the follicular study scan, if we see that there is no improvement in or there is no better follicles produced by letrozole, as I said, in some of the resistant PCOS, or if the follicular count is too less, even though we give letrozole, the patient doesn't get a dominant follicle, and ovulation doesn't happen. In such individuals, we can always put on letrozole combined with HMG, that is recombinant FSH, urinary or recombinant HMG, and or recombinant LH. We can put from 7th day onwards continuously. Before we were used to give on alternate days, but study says that giving continuously from day 7 onwards till the dominant follicles grow into good size is always better for better matured egg. And then when full follicle has grown above 18 mm, and the endometrium, if we see a triple line in the endometrium in ultrasound scan, and the endometrium is above 6, preferably above 8, we have to give them HCG injection of 5,000 units. Maximum we can give for 10,000 units also, or we can give recombinant HCG, which of 125 or 250 mg, and we can we can conduct an IUI after 24 hours, single or double IUI, based on the couple. Okay, this shows that how we are using gonadotropins. So in some couples, even though if we give letrozole and combined with HMG, ovulation doesn't happen. So in those individuals, we can directly start on gonadotropins from day 2 onwards. This is mainly done in IVF cycles. Rarely in IUI cycles, as the last reference, we give gonadotropins from day 2. But in IVF cycles, for everyone, we usually start gonadotropins from day 2 onwards continuously. And we start an before the patient is posted for oocyte retrieval, there might previous luteinization might happen. So the oocyte which we take out is of no value. So to prevent that, we usually give antagonist from day 5 and day 6. This is an IVF cycle. As I said, IVF is whole other topic. So we'll explain later about it. So just keep in mind that gonadotropins is also an ovulation induction drug, which can be used in IUI cycles and mainly in IVF cycles. There is a disadvantage of using gonadotropins, that is it has a complication of OHSS, that is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, in which mainly PCOS, we call it as a double head sword, as if we give less amount of ovulation induction drugs, all the oocyte, no follicles are grown. If we give a number of if we give more number of ovulation induction drugs in higher dosages, then all the follicles grow together, which causes ovulation hyperstimulation syndrome. So large number of estrogen is produced from all the follicles. There is extravasation of fluid happening inside the peritoneum, So there is a fluid accumulated in the abdomen causing ascites. And there is as I said, there is an extravasation of fluid and it causes electrolyte imbalance in our body. And it may cause serious complication. That is called as ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. It is more in clomiphene citrate compared to letrozole, and it is maximum in gonadotropins. So we have to avoid gonadotropins in IUI cycles, as in IUI cycles we only monitor IUI cycles using scan. We doesn't do any hormonal test. But in case of IVF cycles, we have to give gonadotropins, but we monitor regularly by estrogen, FSH, and LH monitoring and progesterone monitoring. So we can always keep in mind, as we monitor estrogen regularly, we'll get to know if the patient is going for OHSS, and we reduce or stop giving gonadotropins at the point of time. So this is the complications mainly by the ovulation induction drugs. So we have to vigilantly use these ovulation induction drugs. Usually using letrozole of 2.5 mg, 5 mg every day for 5 days doesn't cause any OHSS. So, and one more thing, HCG. As a trigger, we give HCG. So this HCG lasts in a body for more than 5 to 6 days. So this again is a complication which causes OHSS. HCG mainly increases the risk of OHSS. So in case if the patient is going for OHSS, we have to give trigger of GnRH agonist instead of giving HCG. That is also there. So I already explained about IUI. So IVF, as I told you, mainly IVF, the indications are male factors, and also IVF is a indication in female factors in whom there is a tubal factor associated. If there is a blockage in the tubes, or both tubes are blocked, or salpingectomy happened due to previous ectopic pregnancies, or there is an endometriosis, that is full deposition of the endometrium in the tubes, and we can't even operate by laparoscopy. And if there is a premature ovarian failure, in case of premature ovarian failure, we doesn't see any of the follicles. We hardly there will be 2 or 3 follicles seen in each of the ovary. In such patients also, IVF is always better. Immunological infertility and unexplained infertility. Unexplained infertility seems to be very easy, but in these patients, we doesn't see any type of complications, so we doesn't know how to treat them, or how do we improve the conception rate in them. So how much ever we try, in some patients, there doesn't seems to have positive pregnancy rates. In such couple also, we can always advise for IVF. So in case of premature ovarian failure, in which the AMH values is too low and they are going for ovarian failure, we can also advise the patients. I mean, instead of spending so much of money, we can always give an option of donor egg. In IVF, we can either have a donor, one donor gamete we can take, either a donor semen sample or a donor egg. One has to be of the couple itself. So in case of premature ovarian failure, we can always advise them for a donor gamete, and we can tell them that we will use the husband semen sample itself. So it will be of the genes of the family is retained, and as the embryo, as the baby grows inside their own womb, they'll get the affection. So we can counsel the patients in such a way. If the patients are not satisfied, and if they want their own embryo, we can always say that IVF is an expensive affair, but still, if you want to have your gamete itself, your egg itself, you can always try one option. So as we give higher doses as we give in ovulation induction drugs in higher doses in such couples, there might have chances of having growing 1 or 2 eggs, which also can show positive pregnancy rate. So there are always chances. So this is a picture of IUI showing, as I already explained you, there is a catheter inserted inside the cervix. We can manipulate the catheter so that it will pass inside the uterine cavity. We should not touch the fundus, and we should inject the semen sample completely inside. And we should ask the patient to lie for 20 minutes to half an hour. So what happens in IVF. So in IVF, from day 2 onwards, we give gonadotropins in higher dosages, and we monitor the eggs by serial ultrasounds. We do more number of follicular study from day 6 onwards. We have to do on alternate days. We have to see how the follicles are growing, and we have to do lab workup also to see if they are going into any OHSs or not, or any premature luteinization happening. So we have to do estrogen, progesterone, LH values on alternative basis. So when the egg follicles come into full size, we have to give trigger HCG or GnRH agonist, and we pose them for oocyte retrieval. How do we do the oocyte retrieval? So we insert a TVS, that is transvaginal probe, and then needle with the transvaginal probe, and we retrieve the oocytes under the ultrasound guidance. So all the oocytes are stored, and the embryologist sees whether we have how many M2, that is matured oocytes we have got. M2 oocytes are always better for fertilization, or how many are M1, or how many are not matured oocytes. And then there is difference between IVF and ICSI. What is IVF? In vitro fertilization, in each plate, an oocyte is released with the sperms, which well washed processed sperms, and we leave them for artificial fertilization happening inside the lab for 2 to 3 days, and we'll check for the embryos formed. In case of in case of ICSI, that is intracytoplasmic sperm injection, which is an even more advanced process in which single oocyte is injected with the best sperm. Using a microneedle, we usually take the sperm inside a microneedle. We go inside the oocyte membrane into the oolemma, and we inject the sperm directly inside the oolemma. So the fertilization happens 100%. So after 2 to 3 days, the embryologist will see how the embryos are grown, and they'll do the grading according to it. AA is a good quality embryo. B and C are moderate and moderate quality embryo. C is not that good. Fertilization usually doesn't happen with that. So usually we transfer good quality embryos in the first transfer. We can do a fresh transfer, that is after 5 days in a blastocyst, or day 3 when day 3 in case of embryo is of day 3 size, we can always do a fresh transfer day 3 or 5. Or if we see that the endometrium is not that good, we can always post them for the embryo transfer the next month. So what is this embryo transfer? The embryo which is formed inside the lab is transferred back inside the uterus of the female, and we have to test after 14 days using beta HCG, that is blood HCG levels. So urinary kit usually used for testing pregnancy, right? So in case of IVF cycles, we usually test by blood, because HCG first detected in the blood, and this is appropriate diagnostic value. So beta HCG we usually do after 14 days, and if it is more than 5, usually more than 5 is positive pregnancies, but in IVF we usually see in hundreds, it will be more than 100. So that shows a positive rate, and we have to increase the support, that is we have to give more progesterone for them, and continue as they ask for a scan after 1 week to confirm pregnancy. So this is what is ICSI and IVF. So yeah, even in females and males, IVF and ICSI is a boon. So we see many of the couples who are not able to conceive previously are able to conceive now because of donor, might be because of the donor gametes, either in the females or in the males, or if they want their own sperm, or if they want their own egg, that also can be done by this advanced method, that is IVF and ICSI. So this is always a boon in infertility. So we have improved scientifically more in infertility nowadays. So every couple have a chance to conceive. So this is something about infertility. I take the privilege to talk about infertility. Thank you so much, Medversity, for giving me this option. Giving this opportunity for me. Thank you.